Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you tuning into another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast, brought to you and sponsored by podcastvideos.com. I'm sitting in one of their wonderful, beautiful solo pod rooms here in the Rogers, Arkansas location. They have a team of folks that help produce, edit, and make sure it markets out to you guys so you guys actually see the show. So shout out to them. Check them out if you haven't. Bring in a guest that is near and dear to me. He was on the OG version of the show way back when I did a couple versions in my office and in my house and a couple other things. And we had some audio technical difficulties. Let's just say that. But I'm so glad to have him back because he has gone the technology app route for you guys, and you guys need to know about this app. If from guys looking to switch positions, looking for recruitment, or recruiters looking for recruitment placement, and some other exciting other things that we're going to show you if you guys are on YouTube or on Spotify watching us visually. I'm going to share a little bit about the app, but go check it out no matter what. BoomNation on the App Store or iOS store. But furthermore, the man, the myth, the legend, the co-founder of BoomNation, Brent Flavin. Dude, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure. Love the show. And as you said, we were on early, and I know it took us a while to get it scheduled back on, but I'm excited to be here, excited to have a conversation with you.
I mean, it only took 3 reschedules.
It did.
But we've been busy. It sounds like you guys have been busy, and
Yeah.
man, what BoomNation does for the community. Talk a little bit, number one, little intro about yourself, if you don't mind. Share a little bit background of the blue collar industrial side of the coin that you came from, and
Yeah.
how you ended up in the technology world and producing the one of what could be a major social media movement for the blue collar working man.
Yeah, sure. And we'll get into that and how we're thinking about that from a social media perspective. We don't necessarily think about it in that way.
Okay.
No, well, hang on. No. That's okay that you said that. I'm not offended. A common analogy that's made of BoomNation is LinkedIn for blue collar, Twitter for blue collar, right? Like Facebook for blue collar. We're innovating past that. We're going to get into that. It's actually at the core of the issue that's out there and the core of the pain point that folks are experiencing in these industries. But yeah, a little bit of background on me. From Lake Charles, Louisiana, industry town. Grew up. Mom's side of the family was kind of all blue collar, all oil and gas. Dad's side of the family was real estate, and there's a little bit of construction sprinkled in there. High school, worked in those plants. Went to a high school where a lot of the folks that I graduated with kind of went right into working in the plants right after we graduated. We were the first class where there was not a shop class our freshman year. So they just ripped it out right when that movement started happening, where the 4 year, everybody started pushing to 4 year instead of hey, go get a trade and go work, right? And you're kind of seeing that movement shift back now, where people are rethinking what to do there and all the opportunities that are out there in the industries that you and I serve. So, look, when we first started there, there was a couple things that, we knew there was a problem. Everybody knew there was a problem. We started kind of before the headlines of skilled trade shortage were out there. All right. And we just were passionate about, myself and some co-founders were just passionate about trying to make a difference. And there was two things that were clear. People didn't know, well, there was a lack of transparency is the first thing. The second thing is workers didn't know where the jobs were, and employers didn't know where the workers were. Yeah. All right. So there was this like historic, archaic word of mouth occurring still. And early on, a couple things happened. We would have people come on our platform, perfectly credentialed, willing to work, and asking their word of mouth network for weeks if they knew of any jobs were available. Uh, they would come on our platform and they would match up with employers who were also struggling to find workers, like literally turning down projects because they couldn't find enough folks to work their projects, and they would connect. And in some of those cases, one in particular that really stands out for us, it was kind of the first moment where we're like, how is that happening? From that person's front door to the project site was 7 minutes. Employer had never heard about the worker had never even heard about the company.
Wow.
And that was an early moment where we realized there's a problem here, right? Something else that we figured out, and look, along the way, there were folks that were a lot smarter than we are that started to reach out, right? Like, hey, what are y'all doing? What are y'all working on? And they would tell us, like, guys, y'all don't understand how big this problem is.
Yeah.
And about a year after that started to happen, some of the headlines started to come out of skilled worker shortage and stuff like that. We actually had some early data that was really interesting to us, and we weren't vocal about it yet, but we had some early data that questioned whether or not like there actually was a shortage, right? If it had more to do with like friction and experience and retention and culture, right, and transparency of where those jobs are, than it did about there actually not being enough workers. And then we got a little bit vocal about it. And as soon as we started to get vocal about it, we were tarred and feathered for a while, right? But we stuck with it. It's like, look, this is what our data is showing us. We think our platform is closer to skilled workers and frontline workers and blue collar folks than any other platform out there. Here's what they're telling us, and here's what our data is showing. We're going to trust it until we see something different. And lo and behold, this year, U.S. Chamber came out with some data that indicated that what we were seeing was true. And so, during that time of us being tarred and feathered for being a little bit vocal about it, and people questioning what we were seeing, there was data on churn. So, like construction in particular, the construction industry, I think last year lost 1.9 million people, up from 1.2 the year before. And there's about they say there's about a 400,000 to 500,000 demand gap. Now, some of that's natural churn. But you know what the number one reason that people leave the industry is? They miss a paycheck or two.
Yeah.
And it's not that their employer doesn't pay them. It's that they literally can't find their next job. And so they've got to go to something more consistent like retail or manufacturing or whatever it is, right? In order to feed their families, right? And so what we're building is a network, right? Yes, there is content. Yes, there is entertainment because that's how people like to consume their information these days, right? They don't like to read the stuff. And we actually don't love that there's a news feed. We don't love that there's a job board right now. We're about to innovate past that. And I'm going to explain that a little bit.
Wow.
Because we think that takes away from the core issues that are out there. However, what's occurring on our platform today is employers are coming on, telling their story, engaging with people. Workers are coming on, engaging with recruiters. And in the first week of coming on, hires are getting made. And employers are coming on the news feed and starting to praise what it is that we've built in order to get attention of other workers. Hey, guys, we've only been on here for a couple of days and we've hired multiple people. Reach out to us, right? Now, here's the ones that aren't having success. And this is because what's currently out there is completely broken. And it's not just across frontline workers. So our goal, we're really focused on skilled workers, frontline workers, blue collar workers, right? Our goal is to make that experience the envy of the rest of the world. Okay. And whether or not we scale beyond these industries, I don't know. Time will tell, right? Or the business will tell us what to do. But we want to make the experience for blue collar folks, frontline workers, the envy of the world. They've been ignored for too long. All right. No one has innovated for them. The friction that we put them through on a daily basis is absolutely unacceptable. And so we see ourselves as being a voice of the skilled worker, the blue collar worker, and building and innovating for them. The rest of the ecosystem that's out there is built for search and link clicking. Okay. And it's built for the most, insignificant consumer inconvenience. One click to apply. Okay. All right. The average, or it takes, I think, 200 applications. So this is average, right?
Okay.
50% are gonna experience higher than this. In order for someone to get one job offer, on average, it takes over 200 applications submitted and over 2,000 clicks. Okay,
Wow.
across every other platform that's out there. And then when you click on that button to go apply for that job, every other platform, they're driving you to a long form application, right? Couple things
Okay.
occur. First question they ask is, can you attach your resume? Guess what most folks don't have that are in this industry?
Nope. They ain't got no
Front
resume.
resume, right?
Ugh.
And then that application takes 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Another thing that folks in these industries don't have is time to deal with that kind of stuff, right? Okay. Because they're trying to support their families, they're trying to feed their families. When you put folks through that experience, there's a 92% abandonment rate. So 92% of people do not fill out the application.
Yep.
So this is the core issue that exists across the entire ecosystem. Search, link click, ads to drive revenue, cost per click, cost per applicant, right? And everybody's just in this death cycle, right? Of attention grabbing, and they don't ever get what they actually need, which
Uh,
is connecting with a person that has an opportunity and figuring out if they match for that opportunity to have a job to support their families. So everything that we're doing, we have a saying internally now, the future of hiring is human. All right.
I
And
like that.
now we can use advanced technology to get there, to match skills, to upload skills, to extract skills, right? Where you don't ever have to input or type anything, right? What we're about to release is this. There's both sides want to ask the same question, both the
Uh,
recruiter and the worker. All right. Find me X. Okay. Find me a worker with these credentials that has this many years of experience, that's ready to work, right? That's available for work. Okay. From a worker perspective, find me a job within this location, right? That pays this much, that has a range of this much per hour. In some cases, this much per diem, right? If they're willing to travel,
uh,
um, and within this industry. Okay. Doesn't exist today. So we're about to release an experience where you literally come on our platform, you ask that question, our technology feeds you the information, and we connect humans with humans, people with people faster than any other platform. We're
wow.
building an experience that's different across the entire ecosystem. It's what people want, and we're doing it for frontline blue collar workers, and we're proud of it. And we're going to stay hyper focused here, for as long as it takes in order to solve the problem and give them the kind of experience that they deserve.
Man, keeping the main thing, aren't you? And dude, you're so right, man. And that's exactly this show. This show is an investment for the blue collar worker. Like the resources are limited. You're right. The whole transaction of acquiring on both sides, recruiter or worker, is just terrible. It's hard to find, and to hear that, it's 1.9 million, I think is what you said. That's staggering, leaving the trades. And those are good tradesmen that have worked, good places. And don't get me wrong, there's first years in there as well. But there's good tradesmen in that bunch that is just walking away because of why? Well, because we had 2 weeks of weather, and like myself, a dirt guy didn't pay the crew, or whatever the case may be. Or there's so many different stigmas about, I wouldn't even call them stigmas, but frustrations that can be. Our world is just different, and it's hard to describe our world to the bank. It's hard to the bonding guy, to the whole blue collar in itself is just different, the contracting world. And these guys that are skilled at it, we want nothing more than to bridge that gap. And like LinkedIn is a perfect place for, if in my head, which I didn't even know about it, Brent, until about 8 months ago. But that's where all that upper echelon clientele, white collar folk is. That's their work go between. And so I was like, do we start pushing some content? Of course you do. If you want to bridge that connection. So you're doing the exact same thing. I can't really compare. I won't sit here and compare Boom Nation to anything else because you really are very you're always since I've known you, my guy, it's, "Oh, yeah, we're here, but this is where we're going. Oh, yeah, this is where we're at." I mean, I could literally pull up the recording. And so to hear your passion hasn't faded in the I don't know what it's been, a couple years since I've maybe a year and a half since we sat and talked the first time is, inspiring. So I appreciate you and investing, because it is an investment. I understand it is a not just time, but a lot of money put in for these guys, the audience, the guys that you're sitting there listening, that drinking a cup of coffee on your way to work. This guy that's sitting there on his lunch hour, man, I'm really sick and tired of just being treated the way I'm treated. I love what I do, but is there any other place out there? Where do I don't just post it on Facebook. And it is that it's a huge problem for them. And not only that, it's encouraging being on Boom Nation. I got to say, a big testament to your audience and your community. They're all very, and well, of course, they're good, solid blue collar guys. Don't get me wrong. There's some razzing, but man, anytime I've posted on there, it has been, man, dude, that looks so cool. What are you guys doing? What are you using for? And they're just very curious, passionate, and encouraging.
You mentioned the word stigma, like a common question, whether
Yeah.
it's like fundraising or whatever it is, partners that we're trying to bring on that are worried about their brand or whatever it might be. Like a common question, a lot of times the first question that we get is like, well, you got some folks on here that, are kind of rough and rowdy. Do we need to be concerned about the type of language or post or content that's being posted that our brand or my investment would be associated with, right?
Right.
Um, so I think we've had one political post the entire time we've been live. Okay.
Wow.
One. It one. All right. And can you imagine the kind of environment that we've had over the last couple of years?
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly positive community. People are proud of what they do. Right. And our answer back to them is like, look, if you have concerns about that, you don't know these people. Right. Like
Right.
they want to feed their families. They're great people. they're they're people of faith. Right. And they're just looking to try to get better or find opportunities to be able to support those that they love, right? And that's at the core of what's happening, right? Or to tell their story. The recruiters that are having the most success are coming about it from a personal perspective, like posting pictures of their daughters up in backhoes and saying like, "Hey, starting them young." You know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that really resonates with the folks that are on our platform, right? The ones that
Right.
are coming out, and we encourage, like, we do some really great, if there's employers listening on your show, right? Like we have a really great onboarding team that kind of teaches you, how to recruit, right, in today's day and age, and
Uh,
specifically to how to use the tools on our platform. Companies are posting jobs on job boards and their company pages, right? Like that is the last place that workers' attention is. All
Right.
right. Like workers' attention is not on job boards and company pages. So there's all the friction in between, but there's also this massive disconnect in terms of like where workers' attention is and where employers are trying to get their attention from. Right. And so you've mentioned bridging the gap. The product we're going to release right now, we're actually calling it the Bridge. I mean, you changed the name of the product a bunch, but it's been called the Bridge for a while. Um, and look, I mean, to my knowledge, and I don't know if this is entirely the case, we've been kind of head down and focused on building, but I think the type of artificial intelligence we're about to introduce into this product is the first time that somebody's done it for blue collar folks, for frontline workers, right? And yes, we're going to be using advanced technology, but we're doing it in a way that's relevant, right? And we're doing it for a very, very specific use case in a very meaningful intention of connecting people again.
Hey, this is for the guys up front that are trying to level up. They're probably out of place for a couple of years. Their labor's not really getting noticed per se,
Yep.
and they would like to find somewhere that treats them right. And coming from a guy that's 7 minutes from a job site that works out perfectly, resume individual. But how can you mentioned a little bit about your onboarding team. How can Boom Nation's strategies be adapted for these recruiters and adapting generation coming up? Because I think you're doing such a great job, Brent, with capturing, I guess you would call them the alpha generation. I don't even know what letter we're at, Gen whatever, but the iPad generation, you know, I was the
Yeah.
same with you when you mentioned pulling shop class, dude. When they pulled shop class, dude, I was in, there wasn't even an option for shop class. It
Mhm.
was, you were basically on, I think they called it maps back then. You're mapping for your 4 year. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to do the work program my senior year. I am out of here. I am not doing another 5 years, 6 years of this. So, how can Boom Nation help capture those individuals and hopefully retain them?
Yeah. So I was asked to give a talk in Austin recently, and I used an example here. So we're talking specifically about the younger generation, right? Right. Yeah. So that generation does not know a world in which there's uh, next day shipping, right, from Amazon, and everything is at their fingertips. And they also don't know a world where they get a product in the mail that they ordered online, and it's been so much work has been put into it, so much thought has been put into it that it's so intuitive that they open up a box and they turn it on, right? Like all they have to do is make sure it's charged and they know how to work it, right? That's relatively new, right? Like 15, 20 years ago, like you had to put stuff together and yet, you had to wait on stuff or you had to go to the store, right? Like you're dealing with a generation that in their normal daily lives, there is no friction on the things that they want, right? Or need. Okay. But when you introduce them to these industries, okay, they've never experienced the kind of friction from a journey perspective, right? That they're being introduced to, right? So like let's start from the beginning, right? Like I can't we like here's a common misconception too. Like there's a lot of money being put into, and this is a little bit controversial, but whatever. We've got an edginess to our brand and how we do things, and so we speak the truth. There's billions of dollars being poured into training and training facilities, and these things are beautiful. All right, and yeah, there's being people getting enrolled in those things, not to the level of which there should, but there's people being trained. Okay, what most people in those facilities, now there's some really good ones that are placing a very high percentage, right? But we talk to a lot of them, and they're not placing or they're placing a very low percentage of their people coming out of that training. Okay. Um, and that has to do with a lot of like the lack of transparency and the friction that's involved in trying to do so. Right. So starting from the beginning, it's still word of mouth. There's still a lack of transparency. It's search and link click, and they never hear back from anybody. Okay. And then if they do get a job, all right, they're asked to show up to a job site, report to a trailer, and fill out hours and hours of paperwork on day one. And then for every day for the rest of their career, right, they're filling out timesheets on paper or whatever it might be, JSAs on paper. And look, there's great technology out there now that replaces those things. But for the most part, it has not been adopted whole scale within these industries, right? And so, we like you have to digitalize. Like these industries, these companies, like they have to have a digitalization strategy. Can't be on spreadsheets. It can't be on sticky notes, right? And like we've been on those projects, right? Like there are most of it is sticky notes and stacks of paper. Okay, like we're lucky if people are checking their email and replying to their email, right? And so that's where things are still stuck. So we have to digitalize first, right? So like here's a now look, there's great companies that are doing some advanced technology type stuff and this whole like web 3.0 thing, right? Or artificial intelligence or whatever it is. There's companies out there, Procore is one of them, Safety Culture is one of them. There's others that are doing that, right? I know. But they're good products, right? And they're bringing in some advanced stuff, right? But we can't like most firms like we're not we like to say like look the rest of the world is in 3.0. We got to get these industries from like faxes and printers, right, which is 1.0, right, to 2.0, which is digitalization and web and cloud. You know what I mean? So, like, let's get to 2.0 first before we and look, you can skip 2.0 if you're really committed to it, but, um, and through that process, though, like, we have a saying, where, if you think construction's over budget, come try to build technology, all right? You know what I mean? Like, and it's the truth. But like in being in construction, like in managing a project and getting a project done, you have a vision when you start, you know what to do, right? As that project goes on though, all right, there are a ton of variables that come in that you didn't plan for. Rain, manpower, whatever it is, right? It's the same thing like whether you're building technology or trying to adopt technology. Like, you have to have champions within your organization, okay? And assign ownership to champions in that organization and allow them to make decisions, all right? And yes, to spend money on things that will help retain your workforce, help you recruit your workforce better, and give them a better experience where, uh, you they will shout from the rooftops of how good of experience it is to work for this company. And when they hear of that friction occurring, within other companies, uh, you know, they'll have a smirk on their mouth, right? Because they know two things. They know, Cy Kirby, it was hard to do, but they invested in it, and it was meaningful, and they did it. And it was an incredible experience working for SciCon and doing the dirt work that they do. So you have to adopt from a digital perspective. All right. You've got to think about experience and friction. Okay. Like on the employer side. Um, if we want to talk specifically about recruiting, um, you have to engage. Like, we had a period of time, we were lucky that this occurred to us. All right. Because it allowed us to see the actual focal point of the problem, and start to build uh, technology, to solve it and to solve it at scale. Okay.
Uh,
But we had a particular period of time where we were sending hundreds of applicants a week to employers. All right. And we got feedback from them. They didn't really hire anybody. Okay. And we were devastated. And we're like,
right, of
what are
course.
you talking about? And so we picked ourselves up. I mean, we were down on the mat, like gut punch. All right. Like, we put a lot of effort we thought this was our moment to break through. Um, we put a team together to go investigate it. All right. And we found a couple things out, and I won't get too technical with you, but what was occurring was, again, search and link click. All right. And those resumes or those applications would sit inside companies' ATSs, and folks in HR, yes, they might send a one-off email, to the hiring manager, but only if the resume perfectly matched up, like perfectly. Okay.
Mhm.
And was able to break through the So these ATSs have algorithms where they're looking for keywords. And if you don't have those keywords, then you don't get through. Like, you're
Uh,
sending an automatic rejection letter, right? So if you happen to get through all that, you were sent in a one-off email to a hiring manager, or printed out on a sheet of paper that went on their desk at the job site trailer, right? So you never heard back.
right.
Um, so we put together a process, and we've learned as a team, in order to scale, you have to denounce the desire to scale. So you
Right.
have to do things manually. It's like on a job site, right? Or yet, say you hadn't been there in a couple of days, and you're hearing all kinds of chatter. Man, we're hemmed up. Like, it's not moving. Like, you've got to literally go and, like, all right, I'm coming. You know what I mean? Boots on the
Yep.
ground. You're going to go look at it. You're going to get to the bottom of what's happening, right? You're going to see it, feel it, experience it, and then by the time you leave, you're going to say, okay, here's where we're going. This is what was stopping us. I blocked all that for us. Like, let's go, right? So similar, you got to do things manually. So in our case, like, hundreds and hundreds of text messages a day to both recruiters and workers. Like, we were doing it, okay? And
Hmm.
we were pre-screening skills. So, like, the stuff that actually matters, not long form resume, okay? We were pre-screening skills with about 5 questions. Where are you located? What do you want to do? What's your trade? What's your desired pay? And when are you available to work? Right? Maybe 6. What are your certs? Right?
Okay.
So we're taking that. and then we would pass that to the hiring manager. Okay. When we start, and these were hiring managers that knew they needed people. Sometimes HR in these companies, for the companies that are listening, they don't realize the manpower that is needed. Like I've been at company meetings where the folks in HR have said like, yeah, I mean, we've got a couple positions are open, but we don't necessarily need anybody right now, right? Like that's actually a common comment that we get when we call people to use BoomNation. They're like, no, we're good. We don't really need anybody right now, right? And like we're always incredibly frustrated about that because we're like, we know you need people. Like we know hiring managers at your company that told us to call that said you need people, right? Like, and they
Wow.
specifically asked us to call you directly because they've been asking you 10 times to use us. So there's this common miscommunication that occurs between folks on the project and within HR. When we started to circumvent that process, we were getting people hired in 7 minutes. Like interested, pre-screen, sent, hired. Yes, they still have to process, right? In some cases, go through drug screen or whatever it is. Some cases not, but like literally hiring decision within 7 minutes. Okay, so that's when we took that moment, all right, and that's that product that we call the bridge. And again, it's about connecting humans. So the core problem that's out there across the entire job search, talent search ecosystem is search and click, long form application, right? Long form resume, and everybody is completely sick of it. Completely sick of it.
Mm.
I think ZipRecruiter's stock is down to like $5 a share right now.
Oof.
Yeah. And I think that is a reflect. Now I haven't dug into it. I may be completely wrong, but I think that is a reflection of the experience, right? Yes, it might be a reflection of the amount of jobs that they're able to get posted up, but that's also a reflection of, and we can talk about this for the recruiters that are on this show. It's also a reflection of their pricing model doesn't line up with this industry for these industries for a couple of reasons. The industries that we serve, they've got demand peaks. When a project comes up, right, they need to hire workers. They need to hire them now. But typically they're behind the 8 ball, okay, because they didn't want to spend the money when they didn't have projects to go try to build their pipeline because they can't. I mean, but Si, you're laughing, but it's like it's everybody, and there's a reason for it. You can't invest in it, right? Like you just can't. You got to feed your family too.
Yeah.
So what we did is we realized that people need to have staying power in these industries. Okay. So we align this up with something that will be scalable for us so that we could have staying power as well to continue to innovate for the industries that we care about. But it's $9.90 a year. $9.90 a year. Unlimited job postings, free recruiter seat included in that. What a recruiter seat does for you now, we've opened up our entire database to this industry.
Okay.
We've got one of the fastest growing databases in this industry in the country. And I think we are the largest to date. So we've opened up the entire database. You can come on, search every single person that's on there, filter by location, trade, whatever it is, and engage with them individually.
Wow,
all right?
dude, that's huge.
If you have more than one recruiter in your company, and some of these companies don't, right? So like small to medium-sized businesses are actually the ones that are having the most success on our platform right now because they're willing to engage, they're willing to tell their story, and they're not stuck in kind of the old corporate ways of doing things. That this has to be in my ATS. I want them to click a link and fill out all this information and be there for me, and I want them perfectly credentialed in order for me to consider hiring them. Right? There's transferable skills within these industries. Okay. And so for the first time, we're giving transparency to the transferability of those skills, right? So there's somebody that has worked on your project before. Maybe you don't have work for them right now, right? But there could be another company within a different industry right around where you are. And you may know those guys, right? Who need a good worker, who's skilled with their hands and is willing to work and needs work now. Like that's not happening. And we're bringing that transparency, we're bringing that openness, we're bringing that ability for companies to have staying power, to be able to tell their story, right? So like the content you do, that's the kind of success the companies are having on our platform. Consistent content, right? Consistent content, And it might not, we've got companies right now that actually they're starting to do what's working. They're not making hires right now, okay? But they are on our platform branding their company and telling their story, and they're open about,
Right.
hey, we don't have any work coming up, right, in the next couple months, but we've got a lot of work coming up in the fall. You know what I mean? Keep us
Yeah.
in mind. We're gonna be here. We're gonna be on Boom Nation, right? So when the time comes, come back and connect with us. So we've aligned our pricing model, we've aligned our technology, right, with what these industries actually need. Okay. And nobody else is doing it. And we're innovating from a technological perspective in a different way to not just solve the problems that are occurring in the industries that you and I serve, um, but it is the focal point of the problem that's occurring across the entire job search and talent search ecosystem. And we're proud to say that we're doing it for frontline blue collar workers first. And I've said it a bunch of times, but we say it a bunch of times because we're proud of it. Making this experience the envy of the world and all the other job search and talent search opportunities.
Dude, the targetability factor is huge, dude. I know you kind of briefly just went over that, but man, that's the big struggle with a lot of these platforms is yeah, there's data about interaction, but how do I target? How can I get it down to what I want to be talking to, not to all this noise around to get to
Yep.
maybe 3 or 4. So that's
Here's something else too for the early adopters. Like because you do this, all right? A lot of companies don't know, recruiting firms don't know, whatever it is. And by the way, company, recruiting agency, whoever it is, union, non-union, we're Switzerland, right? Like we're just trying to
yeah,
solve the problem. Um, but you understand, and let's talk in terms of like content creators, right? And some people understand those as influencers, right? The one I know, but the ones that adopt platforms that end up taking off early,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? There's a reason for that though, Cy. Here's why. Because once platforms are mature, they got a bunch of algorithmic guardrails. And
mm,
that's what causes what you're talking about. Like I can't even break through the noise, man, because everybody's in this, they're just shooting them content that just keeps them plugged in, right?
yeah.
So the companies that are coming on right now in early platforms, 100% organic. So when you post, everybody sees it,
Mm.
right? There's no algorithmic guardrails in place. If you post and you engage consistently, everyone that's on the platform that day sees the content that you posted.
Well, guys, it sounds like Boom Nation is fixing to be a partner with, the marketing campaign that we got going on here at bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com. And we do have an active sponsor for the final segment of the day. And I just want to briefly mention them. You guys have been watching me go through this marketing campaign and exactly what I've been doing, but Blue Collar Performance Marketing .com. You can check them out there, bcperformancemarketing.com. Gentleman there has been working with me and the content creation of YouTube and kind of behind the scenes with the podcastvideos.com team and has transformed and converted some sales on for Sycon, which is great, but at the same time wasn't necessarily the direct path. The podcast is here for awareness and YouTube is more for excavation business owners and anybody that just like Brent was talking about is getting into this content creation that is trying to figure out, hey, what do I need to be do I just need a website to start. He is giving you guys an absolute exclusive free comp audit for all BCB listeners, exclusive to you guys. Go check him out at bcperformancemarketing.com/bcb podcast to get your free audit. So, sounds like Boom Nation's probably going to be coming in clutch here pretty quick. We're going to be throwing some video content over there. I did not even realize, Brent. I got to apologize that you guys were coming so strong on the video side, but it sounds like we're going to be posting some stuff on there.
Yeah, look, we're working hard, Si. I mean, and we're innovating quickly. So, the where the platform is today is going to be rapidly changing for the good. So, since the last time you looked at it, which wasn't that long ago, we've come a long way. So, and that's hard stuff to do. Honestly, it just is, and it takes time. Just like when you take on a major project at a construction site, it just takes time. So, we're committed here, man. We are. We're committed to build and to innovate and to do it for the right reasons and for the people that we appreciate and that we come from, right? So we don't think that anybody else is looking out for this group of folks.
Me neither, buddy.
They aren't. There's other organizations that do for other types of trades and opportunities and occupations, and we see the opportunity to be able to be their voice and not to stand in their way, to stand in the background, right,
That's
and
right.
allow them to
And to be a solution.
and to be a solution. That's correct. So.
Final thing for you, brother. I ask everybody on every episode, what's a takeaway for that blue collar worker, that skilled tradesman that is just sitting there maybe on his job site, but he's just sick and tired of being stuck in life, kind of just in general, just stuck in the mud mentally, physically, emotionally. Little piece of advice before we go away here.
Man, two things. I'm gonna start with one that's unselfish. All right. So I heard a saying recently, and I heard it at the right time. Look, it's hard for us too. I mean, building stuff is hard, whether you're doing it in the virtual spaces or in the physical world. All right. Um, and it was, are you focused on your vision or are you focused on your circumstances? Right. And then accompanied with that was consistency over intensity. Right. So like when we're in tough situations, okay, you typically think that you've got to have that intensity to get out of it, to get out of that rut, right? But most of the time it has to do with consistency, just showing up every day and focusing on that vision over circumstance, vision over circumstance, vision over circumstance. And if you do that consistently every single day, it'll surprise you in how short of a time period, your attitude will switch, your mind will switch, and something will break through for you. So unselfishly, consistency over intensity, and vision over circumstance, right? And I don't know if this is selfishly because we're building this for blue collar folks, but come join, man. Like this is a really supportive community. I can't tell you how many times you got folks coming on like, hey, I'm stuck in a rut, and you got other folks that are chiming in, right? Like, hey, man, just keep going. We got folks that come on with content that like they just love leadership stuff, so come consume content if you don't want to engage, right? We're not charging anything for it right now. We're not getting paid for it, right? At some point you'll have some advertising and stuff like that, but we're going to do it intentionally. And then I would say, look, if you absolutely need another opportunity, okay, come find it, right? Whether that's through networking with other folks who are in the platform and asking them if they know other of any opportunities, or filling out your profile with your skills and saying that you're actively looking for work, and applying for and connecting with those recruiters that are on BoomNation. So that's what I would leave the audience with, Si.
Man, absolute pleasure. If you guys have enjoyed this episode, make sure you check out bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com. Just make sure to leave us a rating and follow at the end of the episode. Man, Mr. Brent, thank you so much for joining us and enlightening myself as well about BoomNation. It sounds like we're going to have some SciCon content coming out on BoomNation. I'm really excited about that. But go find BoomNation, guys, on the App Store, iOS Store. Go check them out online. It is a really unique built experience for the blue collar minded skilled trades folk. You need it on your phone. It's the app to be scrolling to encourage, get encouragement. Y'all just go check it out. You'll see for yourself. And as you guys have heard Brent talk about, he is always rapidly moving the can down the road. So till next time, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.